Okay, so good morning, class, and welcome to the session. We will start in next 5 minutes. So did people tried? Good morning. Okay, so very few people left today. Huh? क्या हो गया? So let's wait for a few more minutes and then we'll start. क्लास का टाइमिंग कितना? 8:30 था ना? Okay, ठीक है. Then we'll start. We are prepared enough. Okay. So everyone, please open your Jupyter notebook. Read this file. सबने Jupyter notebook open किया? Pandas. Read this file and then let's continue where we have done in the last class. Let's continue from the same point. कराएंगे. Okay. So what all things we have seen? We have seen how to read a column. Am I right? Let me just have a look what all things have we discussed and then. So yes, so we have read a file. We have seen our head, tail, how to find mean, median, describe, value counts, fill in a nulls fill करना हमने देख लिया था, right? Replace function, renaming of column, right? renaming of duplicate columns भी देखा था, correct? How to add a column, rename a column, all those things we have seen. Group by भी देखा था, correct? Okay, let me see. How to select the records based on some condition. How to select the record based on some condition. Okay. Let me just read this file once again. Okay. So over here, everyone please have a look. Do you notice there is one column applicant income, right? Suppose your requirement is to create or to select all those people who are earning more than 3,000, who are earning more than 3,000. Okay. Your requirement is select all the people who are earning more than 3,000. So what can I do? So I can say CR dot applicant income, and then I can say greater than 3,000. So do you notice you are getting either true or false? Either true or false. So true means this condition is satisfied, and false means this condition is not satisfied. So for the first record 5849, this condition is satisfied, you are getting true. For the second record also condition is satisfied. For the third record it is exactly 3,000, which is not greater than 3,000. But if I say greater than or equal to, then it becomes true. The fourth person, he is earning less than 3,000. So again, you are getting false. Okay. Earning more than, or let me say, or equal to. Okay. Now, I don't want answer in true and false. I want to create a data frame where I have only those people who are earning more than 3,000. So what I can do is I can say CR, and then I'll say CR dot applicant income, and I'll say greater than or equal to 3,000. So do you notice it creates a data frame? How many records are there? There are 703 rows, and number of columns will still remain the same. And now if you check, all the incomes would be greater than 3,000. So what have I done? So how do you select rows and columns? So do you notice for selecting the rows and column, I used to give something like this, comma, and I used to say this information was for your rows and this information was for your columns, correct? So I want to select all the columns. So for selecting all the columns, you could have just given the comma, right? So what I have done is I have just done the same thing. So for selecting the rows, I have given the condition. And since I want to select all the columns, I am not passing any information. Then if you want, you can store this thing in a variable, CR1. Now this CR1, you can do the shape function and you can notice. So 703 rows and 13 columns. Initially, kitne rows the? CR dot shape. They were 981. Okay, so around 280 people have been removed. So there are, out of now 981, 703 people are earning more than or equal to 3,000. Okay, now please take a minute and write down this code. क्या डाउट है बताओ? फाइल को रीड करो। इंपोर्ट पांडा से एसपीडी से क्या होगा? तुम्हें फाइल रीड करनी ना, रन दिस लाइन जहां पे फाइल रीड करी है, डू शिफ्ट एंटर ओवर देयर। Is everyone getting, guys? Okay, do one thing. So write a code to get all those people who are graduate and their credit history and their credit history is 1. Write a code to get all those people who are graduate and their credit history is 1. जो graduates भी हों और उनकी credit history 1 भी. So basically you have to put a AND condition. How would you put a AND condition? I am just giving you a hint. Everyone please have a look. AND condition can be given using either this or you can say AND also. देखो इनमें से कौन सा काम करता है? One of them will work. This is little tricky in Python. Somewhere ampersand will work, somewhere AND will work. Done, guys? I know people who have not done it. Let me take this up. So write a code to get graduate and the credit history is 1, right? So what I'll do is, so if I have to take, everyone please have a look. So if I have to take that people are graduates, then I'll say cr.education equal to, and I'll just copy this thing, graduate, barabar. So you will get all the graduates. Now what you have to do is, you have to select all those people who are having credit history as 1. Okay, so what I'll do is I will use my ampersand. This is a symbol for and. Let's see how it works. And I'll say credit history. So CR dot credit history equal to 1.0. So what do I get? Probably I'm getting error. ठीक है, cannot perform RAND and whatever. कुछ तो error message दे रहा है. Let's see हम क्या कर सकते हैं. So let me put this in bracket. And now let's see. I get an output. So there are 596 people. Let me store this information in a data frame CR2. Let me say. एक second वापस check करते हैं. क्या वैसा has my query gone fine? So I'll say CR dot education. How can I check that all are graduates or not? कैसे check कर सकते हैं? Dot, I can say dot value count. I should get only graduates. Or what I can do is I can say unique. So it says it is only graduate. And the same way I can do for your CR dot credit history dot, let me say unique. So I should get only यहाँ पे 1.0 के साथ साथ अच्छा ये 0 कैसे आ रहा है ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा. CR dot credit history dot, let me say value counts. So 1 and 0 both are right. It means something has gone wrong. Oh, just sorry. I should do CR2, na? CR2 over. CR2, barabar. My mistake. CR2 only 1.0, 1.0. So let's come back to line number 324. All the other lines were for explanation, so I'll just delete them. So basically, you have performed your this thing at line number 324. देखो कोड समझ में आता है? After doing SQL, it's quite simple. Graduate and this thing. Okay. Any number of ants? Just keep on saying and. क्या हो गया? ये वाली लाइन रन करोगे तभी तो फाइल रीड होगी. तुमने ये सब खुद किया था? तो कुछ भी सीखा नहीं तुमने? जब ये वाली फाइल रीड करोगे, ये वाले लाइन पे फाइल को रीड किया कवर नहीं करना है, सपोज को तुमने कर्नल रीस्टार्ट कर दिया, ठीक है, तो सब कुछ चला गया, अब तुम सीधे ये वाला रन करोगे तो एरर ही देगा ना, पहले ये वाली लाइन रन होगी। अगर तुम इसको भी रन करने को बोलोगे तो पीडी नॉट डिफाइंड, तो इसको रन करोगे तो फिर इसको रन करोगे, फिर इसको रन करोगे। Okay, shall we move ahead? Okay. How to sort the data? Okay, how to sort the data? Let's take an example. So if I say cr.applicant cr.head, and let me see few records. So do you notice that as of now, this income column, it is in any order, right? It is in any order. If I want to sort my data based upon the applicant income, I want this income, the highest income, to be on the top or lowest income on the top, right? So what I can do is I can say cr dot, what is cr? Cr is the name of your data frame. Then I'll say sort. Sort again. Time I'll say sort values. Okay. Now I want to sort this data frame, but if you want to sort, you need to tell some condition on which condition you want to sort or on which column you want to sort. So I'll say cr.sort and मैं इसको copy कर लूँगा applicant income, यहाँ पे डाल दूँगा. And let's see what happens. So cr.sort applicant income. So do you notice it has sorted in your ascending order? The lowest income है that is come on the top, and the highest income is in the is marked as the last record, right? So how did it got to know that I have to do in the ascending or descending order? Because of your this thing. So ascending equal to true. If you don't give anything, default is your ascending. Default is your ascending. I repeat, if you don't give anything, default is your ascending. But suppose करो मुझे descending चाहिए, so मैं क्या करूँगा? I'll use my copy paste skill. I'll come over here, instead of true, I'll say false. Now the highest income comes on your top. Okay, let me again repeat if someone has missed it. So CR is the name of your data frame. Sort values. So sort values is a function to sort your data frame. But if you want to sort, you need to sort on based upon some column. So मैंने बोला sort on this thing. Put it in the quotes. Default is your ascending. And if you don't remember, you can just do your shift tab and see the documentation. Ascending equal to true. If you want descending, इसको copy करेंगे, come back over here, mark true, instead of true, mark it as false. So now this would be in your descending order. Okay. क्या प्रॉब्लम है? Done. Any doubt, any questions? Online folks, those who have joined remotely, what about them? हो गया सबका? ठीक है. Okay. No. I think I have already introduced the group by. Group by introduced किया हमने. I can see that I have introduced the group by, right? But as of now, I have introduced the group by. Suppose I want to have information of mean income of males, females who are graduate or non-graduates. ठीक है? I want to have mean income of male, females who are either graduate or non-graduate. So do you notice that if I want the mean income of male and female, then what I could have done? Some of please stop karo apni coding and just have a look. So I could have said CR dot group by, and I would have written a gender. Then I would have written applicant income dot mean. Okay. So it would give me, and obviously if you want, you can do the round also. Let me say round 2. So it will give you answer in 2 digits in decimals. Okay. So group by, gender, applicant, mean, round 2, whatever. So do you notice it gives you the information of male and female, but does it give you the information of grads and non-grads? It does not. Right? It does not. If you want to have the mean income of grads and non-grads, then what I could have done, I could have written over there education. So now it would have given me graduates and non-graduates. But my scenario is it should tell me about the gender also and graduates and non-graduate. So what I'll do is not and, but दिमाग अच्छा चला and, ठीक है? So what I'll do is I'll say group by based upon 2 things, gender and education. So I'll create one list जिसमें दोनों डाल देंगे. Now do you notice? Okay, let's and I hope people can guess. You can keep on adding comma and you can keep on putting the conditions. Okay, so what is happening over here? I can get the information. So female graduate. If you are a female graduate, then your mean income would be 4598. If you are a female, but you are a non-graduate, then it would be 3852, your mean income. If you are a male graduate, then it would be 5725. If you are a male non-graduate, then it would be 3695. Okay. So do a group by, and then within your group by pass a list. Do you notice this is nothing but a list? Square bracket mein aa raha hai. So pass a list of the columns on which you want to do a group by. Whether you want to do a group by on 2 columns, 3 columns, 4 columns, that is your requirement. Okay. Everyone, please go ahead and do it. So before doing this, copy, I'll put this problem statement on the chat window requirement, and then you go ahead and do your coding. You can ignore the code at line number 340 and 341. Those were for explanation purpose. You can directly go for your 342. मैं जो कोड लिखता हूँ थोड़ा बड़ा होता है because I have to explain. Done class? Is everyone clear how to read this table? सबको टेबल रीड कैसे करना है समझ में आ रहा है, राइट? करेक्ट? ओके. Okay, so I had given few data sets to work on. So in your data cleaning, guys, in your data cleaning, let me say if the data was property price, so what was the main challenge? Main challenge क्या था? सबसे ज़्यादा टाइम कहाँ पे लगा? नल्स को रिप्लेस करने में ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं लगा होगा. Probably सारे कॉलम्स. So converting non-numeric to numbers में बहुत टाइम लगा होगा. So let's say lane type, road type, right? काफी सारा टाइम लगा, करेक्ट. बट इतनी मेहनत करने के बाद अब टाइम आ गया कि तुम्हारी लाइफ को इजी कर दिया जाए. ठीक है? ठीक है, अगर तुमने वो यूज किया तो ठीक है, बट उससे भी एक अच्छा तरीका है. गोइंग फॉरवर्ड प्रॉब्ली यू नीड टू यूज दैट वे, बट बिफोर यूजिंग दैट वे एवरीवन प्लीज हैव अ लुक. सब लोग यहाँ पे देखो. दिस इज द फर्स्ट टाइम प्रॉब्ली आई वुड बी इंट्रोड्यूसिंग sklearn फॉर यू. ठीक है, ठीक है. सब लोग प्लीज यहाँ पे देखो. Stop everything whatever you are doing. So I want to introduce the concept of label encoder. शायद किसी ने वीडियो देख रखा हो तो पता हो beforehand label encoder, but let me introduce it in the curriculum. Label encoder. ठीक है. So label encoder. Now check this word itself. So label means your categories and encoder means you encode it with some numbers. So the primary condition for label encoder to use it, before using label encoder, there should not be any nulls. Should not be any nulls. If nulls are there, then it will give an error. That is for sure. So it should not have any nulls. So first of all, let's read a file. And let's remove our nulls. So what I'll do is I'll say cr dot is null. There is no shortcut for null as such, but there are shortcut for nulls also. So cr dot is null dot sum. So first of all, before I can use label encoder, this is a mandatory condition, prerequisite. I should remove all my nulls. So nulls को remove करने का कोड मैंने ऊपर लिखा होगा, right? कहीं तो nulls हटाए होंगे ना मैंने? हटाए थे नहीं हटाए थे? अच्छा ये तो रिप्लेस का हो गया. नहीं फिल ने तो लिखा है. चलो ठीक है. कितने नल्स हैं और कितना ही टाइम लगेगा मेरे को. Okay, let me quickly take this up. So gender. So cr dot gender. Then cr dot dependents. Then cr dot self-employed. Then cr dot loan amount. Then cr dot loan amount term. Then cr dot credit history. और एक शायद मिस हो गया, cr dot married इक्वल टू. ठीक है. फिल है, क्या फिल करना है? मेल फीमेल का कैसे आ रहा है इसमें? MALE है, कैपिटल MALE या M है सिर्फ? कैपिटल MALE. cr dot married dot fill है. इसमें कैपिटल YN था या स्मॉल YN था? जस्ट चेक इट एंड लेट मी नो. कैपिटल N dot fill NA and cr dot dependent, let's mark it as 0. cr dot self-employed fill NA, mark it as capital Y. Just check it and let me know. Loan amount dot fill NA and I'll say cr dot loan amount dot mean. क्या कह रहा हूं? Fill NA and let me mark it as 0.0. सेल्फ एम्प्लॉयड का क्या है? कैपिटल एनओ है। अरे अच्छा खुद ही चेक कर लेता हूँ। चलो ये मार्क कर देते हैं यस। वट एवर यू थिंक, फॉर टाइम बिंग आई एम मार्किंग इट एज यस। मैरिड में भी एनओ है। मैरिड में भी एनओ है। तुम लोग बोल रहे तो सही बोल रहे होगे बट फिर भी ओके चलो मैरिड में भी वही मार्क कर देते हैं। एनी अदर चेंजेस यू विश मी टू? क्या प्रॉब्लम है? लोन अमाउंट CR डॉट, अच्छा यहाँ पे ये हो गया CR डॉट लोन अमाउंट। लेट्स डू अ चेक, एवरीथिंग हैज गॉन zeros, ठीक है। So we are good to go. Now see again I am going one step back. I want to introduce the label encoder. Label encoder is used to convert your non-numeric to numeric. ठीक है, non-numeric to numeric. Till this time what you have been doing, you have been using your replace function, which is also a good technique. I do not deny that. It is also a good technique where user has a lot of control. You are using this type of thing. I hope itne in last 7 days 8 days लोगों को realize हो गया कि you can do it using your replace. But using your replace, there are two things which you need to keep in mind, or there are two drawbacks I can say. One is it takes huge amount of time. Another is you need to be very careful. So for example, instead of capital Y अगर मैंने small y कर दिया, then it was a problem. It will not make the changes. You need to be very careful. Instead of capital Y, अगर by mistake you introduce a small space, then again it's a problem, right? So it takes time and the user needs to be very watchful, very careful. But the same thing will not happen in label encoder, okay? But the prerequisite is you should not have any nulls. So पहले अपने nulls को deal कर लो, and now let's come to our label encoder. Everyone have a look. First time probably sklearn is being coming. So I'll say from sklearn dot pre-processing sklearn from sklearn dot pre-processing, क्या हो गया इतना टाइम लगा रहा, import label encoder, ठीक है। So what I'll do, I'll say from sklearn dot pre-processing import label encoder. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll say label encoder LE equal to label encoder bracket open bracket close. So what is this line? So from sklearn dot pre-processing I am importing pandas. So sklearn is a library. It contains many functions, So almost every model which you would be building would be coming from sklearn. So sklearn dot tab, and if you want you can see it. It will give you all the things. So sklearn dot pre-processing, I am importing the label encoder. Label encoder is the name of my function. Then what is happening at line number 355? कोई बता सकता है जिसको oops के concept ज़रा थोड़ी पता है? So basically, I am creating an instance. I am creating an instance, or you can say run for the first time. Okay, and this LE is just a variable name. You can take any name. Okay, but always try to take LE because that is a standard. Okay, you can take any. Now what I'll do is I want to, let's talk about this gender column. As of now, gender column contains your male and female. ठीक है, जिसको विश्वास नहीं करके देख सकता है, male and female. Now what I'll do is I'll say LE dot fit transform. So LE is the name of my object label encoder. Run it for the first time, or you can say create an object. एक object create कर दिया. le dot fit transform. I want to fit transform your gender column. So what I'll do is I'll take it over here. It will fit and it will transform. And then I want to transform it back to the, I want to save the column. Now you see what has happened. Do you notice 1 zeros are coming? If you want, you can check your this value count. Okay. Now, so how many lines I had to write for gender column? I have to import this thing. I had to create an object, right? But since you have already imported label importer, created an object, now it's not further required. So what I can do is I can say cr.married, cr. all कौन सा column हो सकता है? Cr. Give me name of all the non-numeric columns. Cr. Education. Anything else? Cr. Self-employed हो गया. Cr. Married, education. Cr. Property area. Cr. Let me say loan status. Any other column which is non-numeric? नहीं. तो बस अब कॉपी पेस्ट में हम भी अच्छे हैं. मैं क्या करूंगा यहाँ पे हर जगह कॉपी पेस्ट कर दूंगा. And make sure you are making the changes. ठीक है ना? So यहाँ पे डाल दो married, यहाँ पे डाल दो self-employed. सब लोग प्लीज एक सेकंड रुकना. I'll give you enough time to do it. जितना भी टाइम लगेगा. You give your property area. You give your loan status. Gone fine. Now let's run our cr.get function. Let me see if any column is missing. कोई column missing है? नहीं. Obviously loan ID I don't wish to convert it. So can you notice? Within just few lines, all your non-numeric has been converted into numbers. Okay, so you don't have to use replace and you have to see whether self-employed is yes, no, copy all those things. Okay, that is one thing. Another thing, एक question लोगों के mind में आ रहा होगा कि can I have a control? So when you are using your replace, you had a control of किसको तुम्हें 1 mark करना है, किसको 0 mark करना है. That control will not be available as a user. If you want that level of control, you need to go back to the replace function. But this label encoder, they have designed it in a very good manner. If you notice, for yes, it is already marking as 1, and for no, it is marking as 0 only. ठीक है ना? For yes and no, it is already taking care. It has already been defined within your label encoder. Now everyone go ahead and use your label encoder. ठीक है? None guys. हो रहा है? आखिरी में हेड फंक्शन रन करके देखा, सारे चीजें नंबर्स में है. ओके. तो तुम लोग के माइंड में आ रहा होता ना, सर ने पहले बता दिया होता है ना, तो प्रॉपर्टी प्राइस बाकी डेटा कितना इजीली हो जाता है. विच स्टेटमेंट दिखा दो है, कहाँ वो? Anyone who is getting any errors or not clear? Can you move ahead? Okay, let's do one thing. Everyone, please have a look over here. Sab log, stop whatever you are doing. So at line number 346, I read the file. At line number 353, I'm checking the nulls. At line number 352, I'm filling the nulls. And then I'm converting my non-numeric to numbers. So in a way, what I'm doing is I'm doing data cleaning or you can say data preparation or data pre-processing. Before you can build any model, there should not be any nulls, and entire data should be in numbers, or it should be numeric. Okay. But as of now, when I read this file, so I am running this file once again, reading this file once again. And if you do your cr.head, this is just for explanation purpose, no need to do any coding. So you see that your data is mixed. Some columns are numbers, some are not a numbers. Now, if I do info function, so do you notice it tells you that loan ID is an object, gender is an object, married is an object, or whatever. ठीक है, समझ में आ रहा है सबको? So this is, I want to introduce the info function. Then dependent is your float, and then education is again your object. So object basically means it's not a numeric column, it's a non-numeric. We know that education has yes and no, whatever. And similarly, if you see your co-applicant income, income, loan amount, all these are your numbers. And similarly, your applicant income also. Can you notice? Okay. Now, when I do everything, then apart from the loan ID, which we haven't converted, and there is no need to convert, you notice everything is in numbers. Either you have a float or you have a int. Either you have a float or you have a int. So this using this command, you can check if your entire data is in numbers or not, if all the columns are in numbers or not. Okay. Similarly, if I say cr.select D types, and if I say include equal to object. Okay, suppose now let's come back over here, guys. At this again, I'm going to line number above line number 364. So cr.info will give you all the information for all the columns. But let's say you want to find only those columns which are object types. So I can say cr.select D types, and I'll say include equal to object. So it will give only those columns. And then if I say columns, it will give you only those columns which are object type. Okay, na? Or if you want those columns which are not object type, what I can do is, let's give a try. I can say not equal to object. So include, अच्छा यहाँ पे नहीं ले रहा है, I think. Not equal to लेना तो चाहिए, but यहाँ पे नहीं ले रहा है. ठीक है. So include equal to object. क्या कह रहा हूँ? Exclude, यहाँ पे हाँ exclude कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. ये ना पाइथन में थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम. ठीक है, कहीं पे वो चलेगा, कहीं पे. So exclude equal to object. So it will remove all the object column and it will give you all the columns which are numeric type. Okay, so if you want to have the information which all columns are object type, which are columns are numeric type, so you can include, you can use your include and exclude. Please invest 2 minutes, try practicing it. Okay, try practicing it. Done. हो गया? समझ में आया पूरा? Anyone who has any doubt, any questions? Getting clear? Yeah. There is one particular reason also why I have introduced this select D type or whatever. एक नया shortcut देने वाला हूँ, which will make you guys even more lazy. ठीक है? तुम लोग already lazy हो, निकम्मे हो, थोड़ा और बनाएगा तुम्हें. But you should know that command because when you're working on a very large data, probably that will help you out. ठीक है? Now, everyone just stop whatever they are doing and let's focus over here. Let's focus over here. So basically, now whatever I want to do is I want to introduce a short way of label encoder. Okay. Short way of label encoder. As of now, while doing label encoder, you have to run your LE-fit transform for all the columns separately. हर एक column के लिए, let's say if you have 100 object columns, then you have to write this line 100 times. Am I right? So imagine your property price data. There may be 40, 50 columns which are object type. So you have to write it 40, 50 times. Okay. But the same thing can be done in a single line. अब हम सिर्फ एक लाइन डालेंगे और पूरा डेटा क्लीन होगा. ठीक है? But even if I want to use label encoder, the prerequisite still remains the same. No nulls. No nulls. Okay. Let's do one thing. Everyone again have a look. So what I'll do is I'll rearrange my code or just copy paste my code. इसको उठाया. I'll put it over here. And then what I'll do is I'll just put everything over here. Okay. Just to confirm. I'll not say confirm, but just to make you guys sure कि हमारे पास कोई nulls नहीं है. Nulls है. अच्छा, sorry, my mistake. हमने ये रन कर दिया. It was not needed. So actually this was needed, right? ठीक है? cr dot is null dot sum. ठीक है? So there are no nulls. There are no nulls. Okay. But if I check my data, cr dot head. So my data should be in mixed format. So applicant income and all those things are in columns, are in numbers, and all the other things are your. Correct? Now, if I say something like this, cr dot select D types, and if I say cr dot, I'll say, let me say include equal to object. Okay. At the end, I want to convert only these columns in the numbers. I don't want to take any action on your applicant income, co-applicant income, loan amount. Even I don't want to take any action on my loan ID column. So what I'll do is I'll just remove this loan ID column. How to remove a column? To remove a column, what I can do is I can say drop. I'll say cr equal to cr dot drop. कौन सा column remove करना है मैं? Loan ID. So copy this column. Let's get rid of this column. So I'll put it in a square bracket, loan ID within the quotes. And I want to drop a column. So I think I should be giving access equal to 1. Loan ID. And let me say access equal to 1. Now, if you notice, loan ID column has been removed. Okay, this is to drop a column. A column को drop करना. Okay. Now, what I'll do is I'll take one thing. एक कमांड में कॉपी करूं. So what I'm doing, I'm saying cr.select d types include equal to object dot columns. So do you notice that it creates a data frame which contains only those columns which are object type, which contains only those columns which are object type. ठीक है. cr.select d types include equal to object. If someone is having problem understanding this command, let's do one thing. Let's break this thing. Let's break this thing. So when I say this thing, it gives me, ठीक है, columns. So it will give me the name of only those columns. So will people agree that this portion which I have highlighted, it is nothing but you are giving the name of the columns? सिर्फ column का नाम दिया है. So if you are giving the name of the columns, it will create the data frame with only those columns. Now, what I need to do is I need to convert my gender, married, education, self-employed, property, area, and loan status into numbers. If I go back to the above line, if I go back to this line over here, were you noticing I was running fit and transform on each and every column? हर एक column पे run किया था, yes or no? Yes. Now what I'll do is I will run my fit and transform where I will run it on this data frame, and this data frame contains only those columns which are non-numeric, and I want to convert them into numbers. तो मैं क्या करूंगा? And before I write that command, do you notice one thing? I was transforming a column and I was saving back in the same column. जिस column को transform किया उसी column में save किया. So it means if I am transforming the data frame, I need to save it in a data frame. तो मैं बीच में equal to लगा दूंगा. ठीक है? Now what I'll do is, since I want to run it on everything, I'll say apply. I'll apply and I'll say le dot fit transform. So what this applies, since now what is le fit transform? Le fit transform is the name of a function, but this function has to be applied on each and every column of this data frame. So what do? You use your apply. When you want to apply a function on more than one entity or more than one column, what do? You use your apply. Now let's see cr dot head. देख लो सब कुछ numbers में हो गया. Other thing is you can say cr dot info. So either it is integer or float. Are you getting? So do you notice one thing? I am saying my apply fit transform. So this line will convert your entire data into numbers. ठीक है? Now everyone please go ahead and use this single line. अब देखो life easy हो गई. मन में खुशी के लड्डू फूट गए. अब तुम्हारे मन में आ रहा है अब तो मैं कर लूंगा प्रॉपर्टी प्राइस वाले डेटा सेट ना. But use this option very wisely, because you as a person do not have control that which value you want to mark as 0, which value you want to mark as 1. That control is not given. But again, I'm saying use this option wisely. दिमाग लगाने के बाद यूज करना है. Just because you know a shortcut doesn't mean you directly use it. न्यूक्लियर बम पताने का मतलब नहीं कि चला दिया. ठीक है, पहले बात करो. Done, guys? Yes, it should be screen number. Pardon? See, I'll tell you one thing. जो भी error आ रहा, if anyone is getting the error in this line, only reason is the way you have handled your nulls. Only reason. It should not have any nulls. Another thing, it should not have mixed data. अब सब लोग please ध्यान से देखो. So for example, credit history. Let's say if you have filled your credit history something like this, then you are likely to have an error. Because 10 was number and 0.0 is a string. Are you getting my point? So anyone who is getting the error in this line, go back and check the way you have done your data cleaning. Check the syntax part. If you think there is no error in your this thing, then check this line. POL. किसका हो गया? हो गया? Done? Another reason why people can get an error is if someone has made this mistake. So I'm telling you those things which you need to be careful. Suppose at line number 370, you have not given this bracket open, bracket close. You are likely to have an error. Not only in the shortcut, but anywhere where you are using fit transform, तुम्हें error आने ही वाला है. So bracket open, bracket close is mandatory. That completes the function. तुम्हारा error resolve हुआ? क्यों आ रहा था? हाँ, ठीक है. पुराना पाप था जो अभी समझ चला. Anyone else? The last two rows, guys. Done? तुम्हारे पीछे वाला अपने बाजू वाले का चेक करो, इसका चेक करो, देखो कहां पे फंसा हुआ है. Okay. Okay, let's see one more way of converting your non-numeric to numbers. ठीक है? Another method to convert labels to numbers. Guys, everyone please have a look. One second, please stop karo whatever you're doing. Let's discuss our theory for 2 minutes and then probably I'll write a single line. Okay. Another method to convert labels to numbers. So what are the two methods we have discussed? One is your replace, another is your label encoder. Let's talk about another method. The name of that method is one hot encoding. One hot encoding. This is a concept you will definitely use in your life. One hot encoding, which is also known as your dummy variable categorization. Dummy variable categorization. ठीक है, ये नाम सबको याद रखना है. One hot encoding और dummy variables. I'll create a dummy. Dummy का मतलब समझते हो ना? Fake, which is not real. ठीक है, dummy variables categorization. ठीक है. Now, before I write a code is just one line, single line of code. But before that, let's try to build have an understanding what is one hot encoding or what is dummy variable categorization. Very simple concept, but interesting concept. Suppose there is a column. Let's say city. Okay, and the city column takes two values. The city column takes two values. So it takes Mumbai, or let me say it takes three values. Mumbai डाल दिया, Pune डाल दिया, और कोई city बता दो. Let's say Nagpur डाल दिया. तीनों महाराष्ट्र की city डाल दिया. ठीक है. So consider this Mumbai, Pune, and Nagpur as your original data. ठीक है. So this is record number 1, or you can say record number 0. Then this is record number 1, and then this is record number 2. Okay, these are the records. So the first entry is Mumbai, the second entry is Pune, and the first entry is Mumbai, second Pune, and third is Nagpur. And again, this is the original data. Okay. So when you do your replace function, what do? You mark Mumbai as 0, Pune as 1, Nagpur as 2. So when you have used your replace function, or when you have used your this label encoder, एक simple सा question का आंसर करो. Did number of columns increase? क्या number of column increase होते हैं? No, right? The changes were done in the same column. So for example, if you are marking male and female as 1 and 0, then within the same column, it was 1 and 0 was marked. Correct? Number of columns increase नहीं हुए. But let's say if you want to convert this thing, if you want to convert Mumbai, Pune, and this thing, what will happen? In your one hot encoding, let me say the name of the column was city. Name of the column was city. Okay. Then what will happen? You will create 3 columns of the city. So you'll say city dot Mumbai. Then city dot Pune. Then you will say city dot Nagpur. So 3 columns would be created. So your first record, what is your first record? Your first record was for your Mumbai. So it would be marked something as 1, 0, 0. The second record was Pune. So it would be marked as 0, 1, 0. The third one was your Nagpur. So it would be 0, 1, 0, 0, 1. Let me say the another record was again Nagpur. Okay, na? Let me say another record was again Nagpur. So it would be marked as 0, 0 and 1. A simple statement which will summarize. So 0 indicates your absence, 1 indicates your presence. So I'll just say 0 indicates absence and 1 presence. So what happens? The number of columns are increasing. You don't need the original column city anymore. 3 new columns would be added. Okay? 3 new columns would be added. Let me showcase this with a code. So what I'll do is I'll copy this thing, and again the better thing would be you fill your nulls. Okay, now you fill your nulls and then do this thing. Okay, so null remove just to show that. So CR dot head is there. You can see numbers. Some columns are numeric, some are non-numerics. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll say CR, and again I want to remove the loan ID column. I don't want loan ID column to be there. So I'll say CR. इसकी पहले वाली lines में ही लग देता है. So CR equal to CR dot drop. Then I'll say loan ID को copy कर लेते हैं. I don't go type it. Loan ID comma access equal to 1. Okay, so loan ID is not balanced. Then what I'll do is now I want to convert this thing into numbers. So what I'll do, I'll say PD dot get. Tell me. नॉन न्यूमेरिक में कन्वर्ट नहीं हुआ ना, उसी के लिए तो वन हॉट इनकोडिंग कर रहे हैं. कैन यू नोटिस जेंडर एंड मैरिड आर स्टिल मेल फीमेल यस एंड नो. ठीक है. सो नाउ व्हाट आई विल डू इज आई विल पास cr. लेट मी स्टोर इट इन अनदर वेरिएबल. लेट मी से cr एग्जांपल. कोई भी वेरिएबल में स्टोर कर लो. ओके. हाउ मेनी कॉलम्स cr हैज? 12 कॉलम्स. सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक? इसमें ज्यादा कॉलम होने चाहिए. Number of columns should have increased. Number of rows will remain same. Do you notice 19 columns? Number of columns have increased. Let's run our head function. Now come back over here. So for example, male column. Do you notice it has added 2 columns, gender male and gender female? For married, it has added 2 columns, married no and married yes. For education column, graduate and non-graduate. And for, let's say for property area, do you notice it has added 3 columns, rural, semi-urban and urban. Okay, na? All these things have been done. Okay. Now, just for your more confirmation, let me do one thing. Let me say cr dot head and let me read the first 10 record. Acha, now, so for example, let's say education, graduate and non-graduate. Okay, so first 3 record, you notice they are graduates. First 3 records graduates hai. Let's come back over here. So do you notice for first 3 record it has marked 1 in graduate. Compare only these 2 columns. Compare only these 2 columns. Dekh rahe ho? For first 3 it has marked 1. And the 4th record, check at line number 404. It is non-graduate. So do you notice it is marking as 0 and 1. For non-graduate 1 diya hai, for graduate 0 there. Does it matches the same concept which I have discussed just now? So 1 indicates presence, 0 indicates absence. Okay, na? So this again will make your life easy. Okay. Now go ahead. First do your this thing, fill NA and then do your dummy variables. Agar already label encoder laga diya, then dummy variable will not happen because your data is already in numbers. Okay. So read your file, fill your nulls and run your dummies. Don't take more than 2 minutes. Any doubt? Any question, guys? Done? Nahin? So how many columns you guys are getting? 19? Or something more, something less? 12 का 19 कैसे होगा? ये समझ में आया था तुम्हें? पहले कितने कॉलम थे? पहले सिर्फ एक कॉलम था सिटी. Then how many columns? 3 columns. I think someone is unmuted. Bhupesh Solanki कौन है? Go on mute, please. So city, guys, 1 second. He has asked me a question. Let me answer his question. So he's saying how has the number of columns increased? So previously there was only 1 column. Now the number of columns have become 3. Okay. Come back over here. In your CR data frame, there was only 1 column for your gender. Now for your gender, do you notice there are 2 columns, gender male and female? Education के लिए पहले कितने columns थे? Only 1 column. उसी में graduate and non-graduate था. Now it is education graduate and education non-graduate. That is why number of columns are increasing, but number of rows will still remain the same. And do you notice this dummy variable is intelligent enough? See, I have already converted my gender into male and female. So now original column is no more needed. So उसने original column already हटा दिया है, right? It has already removed the original column. अच्छा, now basically we are doing a data cleaning, data preparation, but अब एक serious topic में enter कर जाते हैं, ठीक है? So steps, now everyone please have a focus and keep on making your notes. Steps involved in model building. Model building की तरफ हम लोग जा रहे हैं. Not now, but कभी तो जाना ही पड़ेगा, ठीक है? Steps involved in model building. Do you remember I have taken a similar topic? Steps involved in hypothesis. याद है? अच्छा, इतना याद है कि पढ़ाया है? क्या steps है वो नहीं पूछ रहा हूँ. पढ़ा है, right? There is something like steps involved in hypothesis testing. Similarly, steps involved in model building. And don't take it lightly. It is very important because you need to follow the same steps to build a model. And probably this is a very quick question at the interview level also, especially for the freshers to check their understanding. Okay. So steps involved in model building. Okay. Now, what could be the first step? सबसे पहला step क्या होगा? Okay. Import a data set. ठीक है. Someone is saying, what about others? Remove null. Okay. Replacing null. Pardon? तुम लोग ने शायद ध्यान नहीं दिया, मैंने पूछा दी फर्स्ट स्टेप, सबसे पहला। नल तो फर्स्ट स्टेप हो ही नहीं सकता, उससे पहले तो डेटा आना चाहिए। तो एनीवन हु इज सेइंग हैंडलिंग द नल इज ऑब्वियसली अ रॉन्ग आंसर। बिफोर दैट यू नीड टू हैव अ डेटा व्हाटएवर। सबसे पहला स्टेप क्या होना चाहिए? वापस गो बैक टू योर हाइपोथेसिस टेस्टिंग। याद करो मैंने वहां पे कुछ चीजें बोली थी, चेक दिस। हैं? डिफाइनिंग व्हाट? अच्छा, मैंने कभी ऐसा एग्जांपल दिया है, तुम्हारे घर में मेड आती तो क्या खाना बनाएगी? या तुम्हारे घर में ड्राइवर आता है, तुम्हें कहीं जाना तो तुम ड्राइवर को बताओगे ना कहाँ जाना है? अब सोचो, ड्राइवर को लोकेशन बताओगे, बट यहाँ पे क्या बताओगे? ना, नो। अच्छा, इन स्टेप्स इन्वॉल्विंग हाइपोथेसिस टेस्टिंग, सबसे पहला स्टेप क्या था? डिस्क्राइब दी एचओ। सबसे पहले नल क्यों डिस्क्राइब करते थे? प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट से मैप था, तो पहला स्टेप यहाँ पे भी आएगा, अंडरस्टैंड द रिक्वायरमेंट। अंडरस्टैंड द रिक्वायरमेंट और यू कैन से प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट। इतने सारे हिंट देने के बाद भी नहीं समझ पाए? पहले पता तो लगाओ करना क्या है। इफ यू वांट टू बिल्ड अ मॉडल, व्हाट इज योर रिक्वायरमेंट? ठीक है, रिमेंबर मैंने ऐसे एग्जांपल्स दिए हैं। तुम्हें कुछ खाना बनाना, तो मेड को बताओगे तो सही कि क्या खाना है। So when you are telling what to eat, you are basically telling your requirement. You are defining a problem statement. If anyone, अगर ये क्वेश्चन पूछता है what are the steps involved in model building, and if you do not say understand the requirement or problem statement, it means तुमने बहुत बड़ा ब्लंडर कर दिया है। बिना जाने कि करना क्या है तुम करने बैठ गए हो। ठीक है, जाना कहाँ है पता नहीं, तो जाओगे कहाँ? ठीक है, अंडरस्टैंड द रिक्वायरमेंट और द प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट। So when you would be building the model in real life, you will come to know that many a times requirement will not be clear to the customer itself. उसके साथ बैठ के बात करोगे, ठीक है? You will try to understand his requirement and then probably see. Okay, are you getting my point, guys? So understand the requirement or the problem statement. Now what would be the next step? अब next step बताओ क्या होगा? तुम लोग का माइंड ना बायस्ड हो गया है। एक छोटे से डायरेक्शन में सोचा, उसको बड़ा कर दिया। तुम लोग ऐसा क्यों बोल रहे हो इम्पोर्ट द पांडा, इम्पोर्ट पीडी? वो तो कोडिंग का पार्ट हो गया, वो तो करोगे ही। उससे पहले एक चीजें सोचो। हाँ, ये यहाँ पे हाइपोथेसिस की बात नहीं हो रही, यहाँ पे मॉडल बिल्डिंग की बात हो रही है। मॉडल बिल्डिंग एज इन लीनियर लॉजिस्टिक कॉन्सेप्ट। अरे गेट द डेटा। डेटा कहाँ से आएगा? ठीक है, डेटा तो निकालोगे। इन रियल लाइफ तुम्हें क्या लगता है कोई डेटा देने वाला है तुम्हें? नो वन विल गिव यू द डेटा, यू नीड टू मिंट द डेटा। So data there would be there in data lake. It may be there in your SQL. It may be in various tables. You have to write a query. You have to get the data. In few scenarios, customer may give directly. So you, okay, but in most of the time, you need to get the data. Requirement samjhi. Now you know the requirement. Now you will go for your data. Get the data, or you can say data preparation, or I'll not say even data preparation. Get the data. So data may be there in data lake as in data repository. It may be there in many tables. You need to get the data. SQL ka use karo, joins use karo, whatever, get the data. Now what would be the third step? Ab jo tum log bol rahe na, that things will come into the picture. Now what you will do data preparation. Or data, I'll not say data preparation, but data pre-processing, which is also known as your data cleaning. Okay, so over here, whatever things you can do your nulls, you can do your renaming of the column. If some column is not proper, you want to rename them. Okay, replace karna, whatever, convert non-numeric to numbers, etc., etc. Whatever you want to do. Okay, if you want to create some new column, you create some new column, whatever, based upon your requirement. Data pre-processing or the data cleaning. In the class, probably the second step you will not be doing because I would be giving you the data because you cannot prepare it over here. But in real life, probably data तुम्हें prepare भी करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है? If customer doesn't directly give you data pre-processing, data cleaning, everything. Okay. Now, what could be the fourth step? इसीलिए तो बोला ना, understand the requirement. So तुम्हें पता है अब क्या मॉडल बिल्ड करना है. You know what your problem statement is. Okay, probably I don't think anyone can answer this question. Fourth step would be your sampling, and sampling has to be your random sampling most of the time. Random sampling or the random sampling. Okay, so before I write the step number 5, step number 6, let's understand the concept of sampling. Very important concept, and it would be needed in almost all of your models. So किसी के मन में आ रहा है कि छोड़ सकते हैं? Answer is don't take it, ignore it. So random sampling, ठीक है? Now the question is, what is this sampling? And why is this sampling needed? Try understanding this concept. I don't know how much time people will take to understand or how much time I'll take to make you guys understand. But concept is very simple and very much used in your day-to-day life. You have been using, only thing is you don't know, you are not using the word sampling over there. Okay, no. थोड़ा सा idea तो शायद sample का होगा लोगों को. We have used this word in hypothesis. Okay, now suppose I am doing a sample. So sampling is your random sampling. Okay. Random sampling. Then we will see what is random sampling. We will see why sampling. And then we will see what is output after sampling. What is output after sampling? Okay. Size of sampling. ये सारे सब questions आ रहे हैं sampling के साथ. Size of sampling. Okay. Suppose if I go to the problem statement 1, my first requirement is first step is to get the requirement. Then I have got the data. Okay. So as of now, I'm saying I want to build a model. Suppose you are trying to build a model. Everyone be very careful, very watchful. Let's say you are trying to build a model which can predict the loan status. Okay, which can predict the loan status. So what you have done is you have built the model. You have built the model. Now you want to use this model for any new customer which is coming to your bank for applying the loan. Okay. Using that model, you will either approve the loan or you will reject the loan. So don't you think that before you start using the model in real life, you should test your model. तुमको खुद तो पता चलना चाहिए ना, how good or bad your model is. How good or bad your model is. Everyone agrees to that point? So let's say vaccine example. I will do the testing to know how effective or how harmful the vaccines are. So will everyone agree to the point that testing is must? सबको ये concept समझ में आ रहा है कि test तो हमें करना ही पड़ेगा. I want to do the testing before I start using anything in the real life. ठीक है ना? Suppose you are cooking a food, you will taste little bit before you put it to your guest. Right? Now, in random sampling, what do I do? In random sampling, I divide my data into two parts. Everyone make a note of it. I divide my data into two parts, train data and test data. I divide my data into two parts, train data and test data. Or you can say training data and the testing data. दो parts में data को divide कर देंगे, training data and the testing data. On the training data, I will build the model. Build the model. And on testing data, I will test the model. Model को build किया, model को test किया. ठीक है? On train data, I will build the model. On test data, I will test the model. Okay? Train and test. Okay. So if I am dividing my data into two parts, suppose this was your DF. DF was your original data. Then this data would be divided into two parts. Let me say DF train and DF test. So DF train and DF test. Now some percentage will come in train and some percentage will go in your test. Now the question is, how much in train and how much in test? कितना percent train में, कितना percent test में? Start thinking. What do you think? कितना train, कितना test? 80 in train. ठीक है, उसको स्टैंडर्ड आंसर पता है. 80 in train, but why 80 in train? Actually, your answer is right also, and at the same time, it's not 100% right also. मेरा question मुझे लगता है, how much in train and how much in test? Let me change my question. Do you want to put more data in train and less in test, or less in train and more in test? किस में ज्यादा डेटा डालें? ट्रेन में ज्यादा या टेस्ट में ज्यादा? ट्रेन में, टेस्ट में. See, I will tell you one thing. More percentage in train, more percentage in train, and less in test. That is a rule. You cannot change this rule. ज्यादा से ज्यादा डेटा ट्रेन में and कम डेटा in test. Now question is ऐसा क्यों? Why like this? सोचो, बड़ा सिंपल सा आंसर है. See, I'll tell you one thing. In data science, whatever you are doing, it will be connected to your real life. Data कहाँ से आ रहा है? Real life से आ रहा है. Data तुमने hypothetically तो create नहीं किया, तो जो चीज real life में होगी वो data में दिखाई देगी. अब सोचो, why larger data in train and less data in test? Answer is very simple. Testing का ज्यादा दिखेगा नहीं. Ajay, tell me one thing. When you are cooking something, how do you do the testing? Do you eat 1 spoon or do you eat 10 spoon? Or do you eat everything? 1 spoon करते हो ना? 1 spoon खाते हो? Let's say you add anything. You add anything, but still testing would be, let's say you have prepared 1 kg of biryani. So how much spoons would you test it? 1 spoon or 2 spoons? So testing हमेशा small होती है. Or another example, to make you guys realize that testing will have always less data, because you study for whole year, you take exam only once or twice. Take any other field, let's say any sports or anything, person is practicing every day, but not every day is playing a match. Olympics 4 साल में एक बार आएगा, और some tournaments, some 3 to 4 tournaments within a year. थोड़ी देर के लिए क्रिकेट भूल जाओ, वहां पे शायद टेस्टिंग ज्यादा है, ट्रेनिंग कम, ठीक है. So most of the time you will do a, so for example you are taking training, data science training for 6 months, and then probably you will appear for interview, ठीक है. So maximum data should be done in your train and less in your test. Okay, maximum in train and less in your test. Now comes the what could be the ratio. So there is no fixed answer to this, but the standard practices, you can take 80-20, you can take 70-30 also, or you can take 75-25. Okay, मेरी आदत 80-20 की है, ठीक है. But even if you are taking 70-30, it is also right. 75-25, that is also right. If you say 74 and 26, that is also right. If you say 76 and 24, that is also right. There is no wrong answer to it. Till the time you are taking any sum of these numbers. Or if you say, nahi, mere ko thoda number se khelne ka man hai, I'll say 81 and 19. This is also right, no problem. Okay, but don't reduce your test very much. Okay. So maximum data in train, less in test. Is this concept clear? Random sampling. In random sampling, what do? I put some data in train and I put some data in test. That is a train and test. Now, with sampling, I have been using this word random sampling. ये random sampling word मैंने use किया. Now the question is, what is random sampling? Let's try understanding it with a very simple example. Suppose this is your original data frame and it contains 5 records, A, B, C, D, E. कितने हो गए? 5 हो गए. So how many records? I have 5. If I do 80-20 sampling, then 4 records will go in train. Yes or no? Yes, and 1 record will go in test data. So 4 record in train, it means any 4. It doesn't mean top 4. It can be any 4. Any 4 can be, let me say, it can be A, it can be C, it can be D, and it can be E. And now what is left? It would be B. So I am not saying that which 80 will go in train and which 20 will go in test. Let's say you have done the sampling and after 1 second or after 1 minute again you are doing a sampling. The things can again change. Now what can happen? It can be something like this: A, B, E and D in train and C can go in test. कौन सा train में, कौन सा test में? I am not putting any condition. Random sampling. Suppose करो you want to do a testing, ठीक है ना? किसी ने if you have seen any kind of this manufacturing unit, probably you would see conveyor belt. पता है तुम लोग को? Conveyor belt, एक belt होती ना, which keeps on rolling, and some products are placed over here. Now what will happen? If you want to do the testing, you cannot do the testing of each and every product. So what will the tester will do? He will randomly pick any one of them and he will test it. If this product is good, then some 20 products before and after are also marked as good. Right? That is how they are doing the testing. Random. ठीक है ना? Suppose करो अगर एक ऑफिस में टेस्टिंग करनी है कि लोग टाइम पे आ रहे हैं कि नहीं, तो कैसे करोगे? You will do a sudden visit. बता के नहीं करोगे. Or you will not say that every Tuesday I'll visit. उस दिन तो फिर लोग आ ही जाएंगे टाइम पे. So you will do a sudden visit. Randomly. So sudden visit is nothing but a random thing. तुमने randomly कोई सा भी thing choose किया to test it. ठीक है? Now, is the concept clear? What is random sampling and what is the ratio of sampling? In ratio of sampling, keep one thing in clear. Train will have more, test will have less. Are these 2 points clear? Any doubt, any questions? No? ठीक है. Let's go back to some few more questions. Why train and test? Why train and test? Why not build the model on same data and test on same data? So basically I am saying, let me say DF is your original data. Then you are dividing into 2 parts, DF train and DF test. DF train and DF test. I am saying you are building the model on the train data and testing it on your test data. Why not build the model on the entire DF and test it on the entire DF? Train की जरूरत है क्या? तुम्हारे पास तो पूरा डेटा है, पूरे पे टेस्ट कर लो, पूरे पे मॉडल बिल्ड कर लो, पूरे पे टेस्ट कर लो. Why train and test? नहीं, इसको हाइपर सपोज no, see, I have my credit risk data. Credit risk data है मेरे पास. So credit risk data is having around 981 records. So 981 records I am dividing into 2 parts. 981 into, let me say, into 0.8 will go in your train, and 981 into 0.2 will go in your test. ठीक है? Why this thing? Why not build the model only on the CR data? CR पे मॉडल बिल्ड करके CR पे टेस्ट कर लो. अलग अलग क्यों करना है? एरर? कैसी एरर? Why do I want to? So let's say, so your first step is your requirement gathering. Second step में तुमने data create कर लिया. Again, this data is being divided into 2 parts, train and test. 2 part में क्यों divide किया तुमने train and test? Whatever data customer gives or whatever data you have, again you're divided into 2 parts, train and test. क्यों? Basically, my question is, why should train and test be separate? Why not build the model on the entire and do the testing on the entire? Train and test अलग अलग क्यों करना चाहिए? बड़ा सिंपल सा आंसर है यार. लोग अब तक वहां तक पहुंच नहीं पा रहे. आई एम गेटिंग सम आंसर बिकॉज वी वांट to use to a future operations. We want to use to a future operations. I don't know what he's saying. Future operation. Karthik says. See, अच्छा. Remember, I have said, data science में जब भी फंसो तो एक अपने real life में झांक के देखो, आंसर जरूर आ जाएगा. Suppose करो, you are studying in a class. ठीक है? You are studying in a class, and in that class, teacher has discussed one question. Okay. So when you are studying in a class, teacher is discussing a question. Can I say it is nothing but a training part? She is training the students. But when you appear for the exam, then it is nothing but a testing. अब student की testing होने वाली है. So do you think the teacher should ask the very same question which has been discussed in the class? No. वो same question तो नहीं पूछना चाहिए. The pattern may remain same, but the question should not be exactly same. So do you notice? So now what is happening? Testing should not be done on the same data on which you have built the model. Hello. Okay, so let's come back to over here. So basically what I was saying, so will people agree that testing should not be done on the same data which was used in your training? If you do the testing on the same data which was used in your training, क्या होगा? You will get the accuracy, your accuracy would be much higher. तुम्हें एक false accuracy देता हुआ दिखाई देगा. It will give you the accuracy and your model may not be that accurate. Your model will give you high accuracy. So किसी को अगर cheat करना है तब तो ठीक है. But if you want to use it in your real life, then train and test should be different. इसके लिए एक line note down करो. Testing should not be done on the same data which was used for your model building. Testing should not be done on the same data which was used in your model building. Testing should not be done on the same data which was used for your model building. So teacher 10 questions class में discuss करती है and by same 10 question अगर exam में पूछती है, then it is not a proper way of testing. Everyone will get good marks. So it would be a kind of false algorithm, not a proper way of testing.
Sir, please repeat the statement.
So testing should not be done on the same data which was used for your model building. Is this point clear? Testing should not be done on the same data which was used for your model building. Otherwise, you will get artificially high accuracy. So what are the few points about sampling? Let's recap them. So basically, sampling means dividing your data into train and test. Okay? And train data will have more data. Test will have less data. Another point is sampling should be random. Sampling should be random. Okay? Now, why random? Random क्यों करना है हमें? Does everyone understand what is random sampling? Any percentage of data in train, any percentage of data in test. No precondition. No precondition. Why sampling has to be done random? Let's try talking about this point. Now suppose, let's say you are doing a survey. You are doing a survey in 4 different cities. Okay. You want to have a survey for 4 different cities. And you are saying that those cities would be, let's say, your Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, and Bangalore. Okay, you want to see the income pattern in 4 different cities. And you have decided that I will do the survey on 100 people each in the different cities. So what do? First of all, you go to you go to Mumbai and you do the survey on 100 people. Then you go to the Pune, you do the survey on 100 people. Then you go to the Delhi, you do the survey on people who are living in Delhi, again 100. Then you go to the Bangalore and you do the survey, 100 people. Okay. Now suppose you are doing kind of 70-30 sampling or 70-30 sampling or 80-20 sampling. If you are doing 70-30 sampling and it is not a random sampling, let me say, it is not a random sampling, then what will happen? Your model, your training data will contain the data only from Mumbai, Pune and Delhi. And you will do the testing on Bangalore. दिखता है? So your model is likely to fail because your model was built on Mumbai, Pune and Delhi and testing is done on your Bangalore. So your data is biased. Are you getting a point? Your data is biased. So that is why we do our random sampling. Okay. Can I say sampling part is clear? Okay. So random sampling, after your sampling, you divide your data into two parts, train and test. Or you can say training data and the testing data. Then fifth step. What could be the fifth step? अरे बड़ा सिंपल है. अगर सैम्पलिंग कर लिया तब क्या करना है? सैम्पलिंग किस लिए किया था? मॉडल बिल्डिंग. Model building, or you can say build the model. Then after building the model, what should be the next step? So they deploy. अरे टेस्टिंग नहीं करोगे? रैंडम सैम्पलिंग में क्यों डिवाइड किया? Build the model. इतनी देर से वही बता रहा हूँ. अगर मॉडल बिल्ड किया, then go for your testing. Test the model. Test the model and check the model performance. जिसको लग रहा है यार क्यों टेस्टिंग करना, भी पता चलेगा. तुम्हारा आधा जीवन अगर मॉडल बनाओगे ना तो यही बर्बाद हो जाएगा. मॉडल में आएगी 70% एक्यूरेसी और तुम्हें लगेगा 2% और बढ़ जाए तो अप्रूव हो जाएगा, लेकिन वो बढ़ेगी नहीं. ठीक है. टेस्ट द मॉडल एंड चेक द मॉडल परफॉर्मेंस. So when we will build the model, you will understand how to check the model performance, and this is probably the main part as a data scientist. How to evaluate a model. तुम्हारे पास एक मॉडल आएगा, you need to check that model. मॉडल है कैसा, and if I use this model, what would be the outcomes? उसके repercussions क्या होंगे? How much benefit the customer will make or how much loss he will make. ठीक है. मॉडल का रिवर्स इफेक्ट भी हो सकता है. ठीक है. टेस्ट द मॉडल एंड चेक द मॉडल परफॉर्मेंस. व्हाट वुड बी द नेक्स्ट स्टेप? वो तो चेक कर लिया ना, चेक द मॉडल परफॉर्मेंस. इंटरप्रिटेशन हो रहा है. वैसे तुम्हारा आंसर इन अ वे ठीक है, चेक द इंटरप्रिटेशन. आफ्टर इंटरप्रिटेशन क्या करोगे? अच्छा चलो कंक्लूड भी कर लिया. फिर वैसे शी इज वेरी ऑप्टिमिस्टिक गर्ल. ठीक है. वो वाले पॉइंट पे नहीं जा रहे. तुम लेट्स से फर्स्ट टाइम एक डिश बना रहे हो, तुम्हें क्या लगता है बिल्कुल अच्छी बन गई होगी?
Yes.
तुमने टेस्ट करा, सब कुछ करा, बट क्या फर्स्ट टाइम जो तुम डिश बना रहे हो जरूरी है कि वो अच्छी बनी होगी?
Yes, sir.
So, and how do you make it more accurate? हाँ, तुमने डिश बनाई उतनी अच्छी
Different experiment.
वापस बनाओगे. और कोई ऑप्शन है? नहीं है. So let's say you build the model for the first time. What do you think? The model would be the best model? No, right? Your model, see, before anyone who is not able to digest this point, he rebuild the model. क्यों करना है? Suppose, let me take a very simple example, and then probably I'll understand. You will understand. Instead of data science, let me take another example. Let me say you were asked to design a web page. तुम्हें एक web page बनाने के लिए बोला गया था. And over here, there was a login button, and over here it was a password button. You are asked to design these a web page where you have a login button and where you have a password button. Okay. And you were told that when person enters login ID and password, it should accept it or throw a proper error message if password is wrong. So you design, tumne designing start kari. This was the requirement shared by the customer. This was the requirement shared by the customer. Usne PPT या Word document में तुम्हें page बना के दे दिया. Now you did the code. ठीक है? And if you do the testing, you can test it. Login ID and password, whether it is accepting or not. So basically, when you are doing the testing, you have something to compare with. तुम्हारे पास कुछ तो था जिससे compare करोगे. You have something to compare with, and then only you can say whether your testing was good or not. But what in data science? तुम किससे compare करोगे? With what would you compare with? मॉडल तो तुम फर्स्ट टाइम बना रहे हो ना. दिस इज अ न्यू डेटा, दिस इज अ न्यू डेटा, न्यू प्रॉब्लम. तुमने पहली बार मॉडल बनाया है. हाउ वुड यू कंपेयर इट? किससे कंपेयर करोगे? लेट्स से यू बिल्ड अ मॉडल एंड यू टेस्ट द मॉडल एंड मॉडल एक्यूरेसी इज लेट्स से 87%. देखने में तो काफी अच्छी है. 87% इज अ वेरी गुड एक्यूरेसी. मैक्सिमम कैन बी 100. 100% तो वैसे कोई मॉडल आएगा नहीं. सो लेट्स से मॉडल इज एट 87% एक्यूरेसी. But how can you say that this is the best? इससे ज्यादा accuracy नहीं है. There can be a model which can give you 88% or 89% or 90%. So do you notice in these two examples, over here you have something to compare with. But in data science, what would you compare with? किस चीज से compare करोगे? Suppose करो तुम रेस में दौड़े पर अकेले थे. तो क्या बोलोगे, फर्स्ट आए या लास्ट? अपने मॉडल से कंपेयर करोगे. अगर तुम रेस में अकेले दौड़ रहे हो तो तुम्हें 2 बार दौड़ना पड़ेगा. दोनों बार टाइम नोट करो कि हाँ पिछली बार 10 सेकंड लगे थे, इस बार 11 सेकंड लगे, तो डिग्रेड हो गया. अगर कम लगा इट मींस अच्छा है. सो सेम थिंग विल कम ओवर हियर because you have nothing to compare with. I again repeat, you have nothing to compare with. So you test the model, you check the model performance. Accuracy may be high or low, but you may rerun the model or retrain the model. Rerun from some previous step. Some previous step, and this step can be your data pre-processing, data sampling, or whatever. Let's say you have taken 70-30 data. You may change it to 75-25. You have not taken few columns. Now you may try to take some more columns, right? Some changes you will make and try to improve the accuracy of the model. Accuracy may improve, may not improve. But as a good data scientist, you need to check it. पहला मॉडल पे स्टॉप नहीं करना है. शॉर्ट में ये पहले मॉडल के बाद एटलीस्ट 2 मॉडल, 3 मॉडल, 5 मॉडल, 10, 50 जितने भी क्रिएट करने को, टिल द टाइम थक नहीं जाओ, तब तुम्हें लगेगा कि अच्छा मॉडल है. क्लियर है? Rerun from previous step and then whatever you want to give the presentation to customer, deployment, whatever. ठीक है? Now one more thing which people need to keep in mind. Never ever swap this step 3 and 4. Sampling would always be done after your data cleaning. अगर किसी ने sampling पहले की है, then he has to do data cleaning separately on training test, and which is not at all advisable. So sampling should be only after your entire data cleaning. इसमें कोई deviation नहीं है. And after sampling, the next step has to be build your model. Till the time you don't want to build a model, there is no point doing the sampling. Sampling की कोई जरूरत. Is it clear? Again, I repeat, do not swap the step 3 and 4. Sampling has to be done only after your entire data cleaning. Last के 2 classes तक तुम्हें data cleaning and pre-processing ही बताया मैंने, right? Handling your nulls and all those things. ठीक है? Clear है यहाँ तक सबको? Okay. Now, within sampling, there is one small thing which I want to discuss, and I think now it's the right time to discuss that thing. So sampling. Before I come to sampling, so in your data, so when, let me not say data, when you are building your supervised model, so what is supervised model? Supervised model is a model where you have a target variable. You want to do some kind of prediction. So in my CR data, what could be my target variable? In my CR data, what could be my target variable? Loan status. You remember? Loan status, target variable is also known as your Y variable. It is also known as your dependent variable. ठीक है. अगर किसी को तीनों वर्ड्स में कंफ्यूजन है, then please make a note of it. So whether I say target, whether I say Y, or whether I say dependent, it is one and the same. ठीक है. In your, whenever you are building your predictive model or supervised model, you would have a target variable, and target variable would always be one variable. Example is your loan status in your CR data set, just for your example. ठीक है. Target variable कभी एक से ज्यादा नहीं हो सकता. It would always be one. And how would you come to know about your target variable? Problem statement. You have already know your problem statement. So based upon the problem statement, you will get the idea of your target variable. So target variable सिर्फ एक ही होगा. ठीक है. Now, if you want to predict your loan status, then loan status will depend upon many things. It will not depend upon just one factor. It can depend upon your gender also. It can depend upon your credit history also, education also, income also, co-applicant income also. It can depend on many things. How many marks you get in an exam? It can depend upon many things. तुम्हारा टीचर कैसा था, तुमने कितनी देर पढ़ाई करी, जस्ट पहली रात पढ़ाई करी कि नहीं करी, किसके साथ तुम्हारी कंपनी थी, whatever. It can depend upon many things. कितना सोना पसंद है, कितना नहीं पसंद. It can be many factors, right? So what I want to say is target variable would be only one, but your X variable, and X variables are also known as your independent variables. It can be one or many. If normally you will not have one, but it can be one also. You will have at least one variable, one X variable, but there can be many X variables. Okay. Is this point getting clear? Now I'll club it with the sampling. Okay. Now, let me say data frame DF. This has some 100 records. After random sampling, you will have your DF train. And let me say you will have your DF test. यहाँ तक clear है? And how much you want to do? You want to do your 80-20 sampling. So any 80% will go in your train and any 20% will go in your test. Now within your train, suppose, and let me say number of columns were 12 over here. अब ध्यान से सुनना, there were 12 columns. Out of these 12 columns, 11 were your X and one of them was your Y. Is this thing clear? So as of now, what will happen? Again, you would be having your 12 columns. 11 of them would be your X and one of them would be Y. Same thing over here, 12 columns. 11 of them would be X and one of them would be your Y. Is this thing idea clear? I have changed the records. Columns में कोई change नहीं किया है. Number of columns are same in your DF train, DF test and DF. Now what will happen? This DF train would be divided into two parts. DF train X, DF train Y. Suppose now let's say there were 80 records over here. 80 records थे यहाँ पे. So 80 records would be over here also. But it will have only 11 X columns. You will have again 80 records over here, but you will have only your one Y column. उसके नाम को देख रहे हो, DF train X, DF train Y. ठीक है, so naming convention, I will follow the same. Now this part, let me change the color. Now this part again would take the same analogy. So this thing, DF test again would be divided into two parts. DF test X and DF test Y. This would be having your 20 records and 11 X columns. This would be having your, this would be having your 20 records and one Y. ठीक है? As of now इतना समझ के चलो, then probably you will realize कि separately X and Y में क्यों divide करते हैं, because the data should be in this format. ठीक है? Draw this rough diagram, though it's very obvious. You will remember this thing because every time you build the model, you would be using this concept. तो तुम भूलना भी चाहोगे तो ये idea भूलोगे नहीं. This will stay in your mind. But as of now, just try to draw this right now, a rough diagram. So first divide your data into train and test, and divide it into your X and Y. I know people are waiting for a break. Just have some patience. थोड़ा पानी पी लो, ज़्यादा सही रहेगा. ठीक है, not more than 5 minutes and we are done.
Sir, please repeat the concept once.
Concept of which one? Entire sampling
Sir,
concept you're saying?
no, sir, this what you have marked down here, no?
See, are you able to understand this diagram?
No, sir.
No. Okay. ठीक है. ध्यान से सुन रहे थे या नहीं?
सर सुन रहा था लेकिन समझ में नहीं आया, इसीलिए रिपीट करने के लिए बोल रहा हूँ.
अच्छा ठीक है, चलो सुनो. अच्छा, don't be on mute. I will ask you questions. ठीक है. So let me say this is your DF. DF has your 100 records. Okay. DF has your 100 records. Suppose I want to do 80-20 sampling. Then how many records will go in your train and how many will go in your test? बताओ.
Sir, 80 will go in train and 20 will go in test.
80 will go in train and 20 will go in test. Which 80 will go in train and which 20 will go in test? Top 80% in train or top 20% in train?
Sir, top 80.
It is random sampling.
Random.
It is random sampling. Again, I think तुम ध्यान नहीं दिया तुमने. See, so remember I have taken some example like this thing, 5 records का example लिया था. Then if I say 80-20, so 80-20 of 5 would be 4 records in train and 1 record in your test. So which 4 in train, I'm not putting any control. Software will randomly pick it up. So when I'm saying 4 train, it can be any 4. It can be, let's say, B, and then it can be C, it can be E, it can be D, and then A may go in your test. Someone else is doing the sampling. He might pick anything else. He may pick A, D, E, and B, and C in your test. Okay? So 80 and 20. Acha, now whoever is asking the question, what is your target variable? What is your target variable and what is your X variable? Tell me.
No, so
इसीलिए तुम्हें कंसेप्ट समझ नहीं आया, बिकॉज तुमने ध्यान नहीं दिया. So what is your target variable? Target variable, another name of target variable is your y variable. Another name is your dependent variable. Okay. Another name is your dependent variable. Remember, I have just said that you would have only one target variable. Only one. If possible, you visit class. Only one target variable. Okay. The example in this data set I have taken was your loan status. Okay. Loan status means whether you will approve the loan or you will reject the loan. So now tell me, approval of loan or rejection of loan, what do you think can depend upon one thing or can it depend upon more things?
Sir, depend upon many things.
It can depend upon many things. And what could be those things? Can you name few of them?
Sir, graduation, employment, and credit, loan amount he wants to take, and how
Yes.
much time.
Yes. So it can depend upon many things. So basically what I am trying to say is target variable would always be one. And X variable can be one or many. You will have at least one X variable. Otherwise, how can you build a model? You will have at least one, but you can have more than one X variable. So this target variable would be only one, but you can have many X variable. Now keep this concept. Any doubt, any question till this point?
No, sir.
Yeah, clear hai? Now let's come back over here. So what I said, let's say there are 12 columns. Out of these 12 columns, 11 were your X columns. And one of them was your Y column. Okay. When you divide your data into train and test, it will have your 11 X column and one of Y column, 11 X column and one Y column. Out of 100 records, 80 will go there and 20 will come here. And it would be randomly. But as of now, there is no changes in terms of your columns. Changes are there only in terms of your records or the rows. Is this point clear? Yes or no? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now what will happen? This train would be divided again into two parts. Train X and train Y. All the X columns will come over here. It will have 11 X column and obviously it will have your 80 records. Okay. Now this will have only your one Y column and it will have your 80 records. Is this point getting clear?
Yes, sir.
Now this test will be divided into two parts, test X and test Y. This test X will have, since I am saying X, it has to have all the X column and only 20 records because this 20 is mapped to this thing. You are dividing this test into two parts. Number of records will remain same. Number of columns में difference आएगा. This will have your one Y column and again you would have 20 records. So this is so at the end of the sampling, this is the final out. Now tell me, is this thing getting clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear? Okay. So I know there is one more question that why I am dividing again into X and Y. Okay. वो question valid है. Hold on to that question in your mind. जिस दिन model build करेंगे उस दिन ये question अपने आप आंसर हो जाएगा. Okay. There is a very simple reason to it. Why I am dividing into X and Y. Is this thing clear? Now can we go ahead and do our sampling फटाफट? सिर्फ एक लाइन का कोड रन करना है, वही सैम्पलिंग हो जाएगी. Okay. But let's follow all these steps. So understand the problem statement. So for example, I want to do my sampling on my this thing. So I will give you the first step. I will say build the predictive model which can predict loan status. Hello. Hello. Build a predictive model which can predict the loan status. Okay. So I have taken this point. So now what do you come to know? You come to know that your loan status is your target variable. Rest all of them will become your X variable. So second step, I can say I have already given, because you are not working in the real industry. So I have already given you the data set, data pre-processing and data cleaning. हमने already कर रखा है. Let's bring all the steps together. Let's bring all the steps together. What I'll do, I'll just go up and file को read कर लेता हूँ. File को कर लिया read. ठीक है. So what I have done, I have handled my nulls. Now let me do one thing. Let me use this label encoder. कहाँ गया label encoder? Elifit transform. I'll use this label. Or if you want, you can use the shortcut also. No problem. ठीक है. Everyone just have a look. कुछ मत करो. Can I say line number 406 and 407 are clear to everyone? Already discussed in length, right? CR dot is null. Just to check whether any nulls are there or not. So I don't see any nulls. Okay. And let me say CR dot info. So everything is in this thing. Everything is either integer or float. And there is one column object type. So let's get rid of that column. So CR is equal to CR dot drop. And I'll say tone ID, comma X is equal to 1. Got rid of it. Any doubt, any question till this point? जिसको अभी doubt आया था, what about him? I have missed his name.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Siddharth, are you clear till this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, chalo. Now what I'll do is, so my steps number, these things, 3 steps are done. I'll go for the 4th step, sampling. And whether you are doing data cleaning, model building, sampling, everything will come from sklearn. So what I'll do, I'll say from sklearn dot model selection import train test split. इसका नाम ही देख लो, train test split इसका नाम ही दिया हुआ है. ठीक है, so that you don't need to put any extra effort to remember it. Train test split. Now, for doing the splitting, to split, what all things do you need? Logically, सोचो हमें क्या-क्या चीज चाहिए? What all things I need to tell software so that it can do the splitting? I need to tell some function which has a logic for splitting. But if you want to do the splitting, you need to tell on which data you want to do the splitting. So I'm saying, okay, I want to do the splitting on CR. Anything else do we wish to give? Ratio, that's the perfectly right answer. उसको कैसे पता चलेगा whether you want to do 80, 20, 90, 20, 75, 30, 75, 25, right? So you need to give the ratio also. So normally in Python, there is a default ratio. Okay, so default ratio is, you can check, default ratio is 75 and 25. So it is saying 0.25 is set to be, okay? But if you want to change, you can say test underscore size, let me say equal to 0.2. So if testing is 0.2, then testing has to be 0.8. आ रही बात समझ में? So मैंने test का data डाल दिया, then testing it will automatically calculate. Now, so what will happen when you run this line? Your CR data would be divided into 2 parts. 80% will go in one variable, 20% will go in another variable. So let me say A comma B. I don't get any error. Just to check. So CR dot shape. CR dot shape is 981 and it has 12 columns. So in my A, so if I do something like this, 981 into, let me say 0.8. So somewhere around 784 columns should go, sorry, 784 records should go in your A. And around, if I say 981 into 0.2, around 196 should go in your B. So the software is defined something like this. The A will contain your 80% and B will contain your 20%. Let's do one thing. Let me say A dot shape. Can you notice around 784 in your A? Okay. Since it is in decimal, it has done a little bit here and there. And you can see B dot shape 197 point something. But instead of giving A and B, don't you think it's better is to say train CR so that naam logical likhe? Test CR. Okay? Does it make sense? You can give any name, but take the convention train CR and test CR. अब सब लोग क्या करो, यहां तक करो. Train CR and test CR. Run this thing and check the sheet. जितनी जल्दी करोगे उतनी जल्दी ब्रेक मिल जाएगा. Test CR dot. You guys have already done the data cleaning now. See the go for your sampling. Okay, go for your sampling. Train test split CR. This one. This. Done, guys? कितना हो रहा है? Now, so it is doing 80-20 sampling, but is it random? क्या ये random है? कैसे पता चलेगा? Random है. It is random sampling. My sample and your samples are different. कैसे पता चलेगा? So let me ask one question. Is this sampling random? Answer तो है yes. ये तो for sure. But how to prove it? Very simple. See guys. अच्छा. Now, let me do one thing. सब लोग अब ध्यान से देखो. I just want to prove क्या ये sampling random है. Answer is yes. Obviously it is. So when I say CR dot head, how does the indexing start? Indexing starts from your 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But if I say CR train dot head, do you notice? Sorry, train CR. Okay, let's change this. Train underscore CR, right? Train underscore CR. So do you notice 9, 9, 20, 8, 65, 15, 6, 6, 2. Everyone, before you run your head function, what does this 920 means? This means that 920th record of my CR data is the first record in my train data. What does this 15 means? The 15th, or you can say rather 16th record in your CR data is third record in my train data. But is it random? What I'll do is I'll run this line. सब लोग एक बार note down कर लो. Numbers क्या थे? यहाँ पे numbers थे 920, then 865, and then let me say 15 and 662. ऐसा कुछ numbers थे. ठीक है? 662. ठीक है? Now what I'll do is I'll run this line once again. this line. Okay. And let me run this thing. Do you notice? They change. They change. The records which were part of train may now have become part of your test. Order भी change कर जाता है and records में jump from train to test. And तुम लोग खुद भी check कर लो, बाजू वाले का भी check कर लो, किसी का भी same नहीं आ रहा होगा. अगर सेम आ गया तो समझ लो उन दोनों की दोस्ती बहुत गहरी है. ठीक है, वैसे सेम आएगा नहीं. पहले के कुछ भले सेम आ जाए, बट नॉट ऑल ऑफ देम वुड बी सेम. इम्पॉसिबल. Every time you do your sampling, a new set would be created randomly. So will people agree that this is a random sampling? Okay, so people have agreed. Thank you. Now, so in my sampling part, what I have done, I have divided my data into train and test, but I further need to divide into train X and train Y, test X and test Y. Guys, can I go ahead? सबने यहाँ तक कर लिया? Anyone who is still waiting at line number 426, let me know. See, basically your sampling is done at line number 426. The rest, all the steps, all the code was for your understanding part. Once you understand, you can just remove them. Okay, na? No need. So basically sampling is done in two steps. You import a function and you do this thing. Now let's divide our data into train X, train Y, test X and test Y. Do you need my help to do that after learning your iLog? iLog के बाद तुम्हें मेरी जरूरत है क्या इसके लिए? Train CR and let me say X, train CR and let me say Y. So where is your Y column? Your Y column is the lastmost column. Loan status सबसे आखिरी में आ रहा है. Can you notice? The loan status is your lastmost column. So to select the lastmost column, what I can do? I can say perfectly right answer. I can say iLog and then I can say -1. Am I right? And to select all the X column, what I can do is I can just say colon and I can say 0 colon -1. So it will go till -1, but will not include -1. If you still don't trust me, let's run a head function and let's just see the first record. So do you notice? It goes only till property area. So copy paste में even I am good. So what I'll do is I'll just do this thing. यहाँ पे कर देंगे ट्रेन एंड जहां जहां पे टेस्ट था उसको कर देंगे, जहां जहां पे ट्रेन था उसको कर देंगे टेस्ट से टेस्ट. That's it. Now your sampling is done. So train and then again your X and Y and then again sampling part over. सब लोग please try to. -1 means rightmost column. Is this thing clear to everyone, please? समझ में आ रहा है? Okay. Now you do one thing. यहाँ से अब अपनी practice start करो. Practice your data cleaning and sampling on all the data sets which I have given. ठीक है? This time when you are doing your data cleaning, try using your label encoders. ठीक है? Try using your label encoder. Do your data cleaning using your label encoder. Get some comfort. Get some comfort and also do your sampling. Use label encoders. अब धीरे से मॉडल बिल्डिंग की तरफ जा रहे हैं. I think probably next week हम मॉडल बिल्डिंग स्टार्ट करेंगे. Actual data sciences yet would start. 2-3 classes more and then theory will start. ठीक है? Do your data cleaning and sampling on all the data set. Use your label encoders. ठीक है? Take your break and please practice. Everyone, please practice. ठीक है? ठीक है? And that's it from my side, guys. From for today. I will meet tomorrow. कल का टाइमिंग क्या? ऑफिशियल टाइमिंग मैंने क्या दिया? कल का मैंने देर से दिया होगा. इधर 11 दिया ना? हाँ. So tomorrow you'll have enough. 11 to 3 ready. Okay. So tomorrow we meet at around 11:30. है ना? 11 है या 11:30 है? 11 है. So tomorrow we meet at 11 and that's it from my side for today. ठीक है? So thank you for joining. But मैं जा रहा हूँ इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि तुम लोग बंद करो. तुम लोग प्रैक्टिस करो जितना सिखाया है ना. ठीक है? Invest at least 1 hour over here. हाँ. चाय पी लो बट फिर प्रैक्टिस करो.